What level of surprise do you have at Tyson Bagent's success in 2 preseason games? He's been somebody who looks the part and certainly has done his role, played his role well enough to be considered a viable candidate to make this roster.
Talent was never really the question with Tyson. He has a projectable body. He's 6'3", 215. Good athlete. He had under he had under 7-second 3-cone at the combine. Only 2 quarterbacks did that. So size, speed athlete, and he has a really good arm. He has a whip of an arm, and it just all came down to how quickly could he catch up to the speed of the NFL. Obviously, coming from the Division II level, that's a big jump. But he did pretty well throughout the draft process. He went to the Senior Bowl where he was facing the best senior prospects in the country, and he looked like he belonged. And that was a big step for him. Did the same at the combine. So he did everything in his power to prove that, hey, I should be drafted. A little surprised he didn't actually get drafted on draft weekend. I think he was maybe a victim of just this huge draft class for quarterbacks. We had 14 quarterbacks drafted, one of the bigger draft classes we've had at that position in a while. But he landed in Chicago. He's getting his chance, and he's taking advantage of it. This is a really competitive guy. So not all too surprising that when he's getting his chance, he's taking advantage of it.
And one of the things that struck me in your great story in The Athletic, 2 things. The way you kept teasing about his father and that you were going to get to him being an arm wrestling champion. But the fact that he played at Shepherd, but then had a chance, in the transfer portal to make moves and stuck with Shepherd. Can you talk a little bit about that and how maybe surprising that was that he didn't go to the Division I level when he had the chance?
Yeah, and really just to start with, coming out of high school, he won back-to-back state championships coming out of Martinsburg, West Virginia. He was born and raised in that West Virginia panhandle. Didn't get a ton of traction as a recruit initially, so he he had a few FCS offers, but Shepherd was just down the road. It's where his parents went. He grew up on that campus. It was a natural spot for him. So he goes to Shepherd and has 4 really good years there. His junior year, won the Harlan Hill Trophy, which is basically the Division II Heisman. And so all of a sudden it's like, okay, scouts are talking to me. All these eyes are on me. Maybe I should take this next step and go to the FBS. He enters the transfer portal. He goes to West Virginia. They wine and dine him. Same thing at Maryland. He's getting these offers, to go to Maryland, go to the Big Ten, go to West Virginia, play in the Big 12. Northwestern wanted him on campus, a couple other schools. So he had the opportunity, but at the end of the day, really it came down to credits. People don't realize that, you can't go to one school for 4 years and then just, transfer to Harvard and graduate with a Harvard degree. Not everything transfers. And he would have to redo all of these credits, and he wouldn't graduate on time. And, he really liked the situation with Shepherd, his teammates, the coaches. So at the end of the day, he passed on offers for that senior year to go transfer, to stay home. And, because he thought, scouts are already talking to me. It's not like I'm this unknown commodity. People already know who I am. If I go out there and, we have this big senior year, I think I might be in the same position as if I go to one of these other schools. So, he decided to stay put, and I don't think he regrets it for a second.
Talking with Dane Brugler from The Athletic, who wrote the story on Tyson Bagent last December. And Dane, I think you evaluate quarterbacks so often that I wonder, when you look at his game and his overall strengths and weaknesses, who does he remind you of? What's a good comp? And what do you think are the most glaring weaknesses that he would need to improve if he's going to stick on a roster?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, like I said earlier, is just catching up to just the speed of what the NFL requires. Those windows, those catchable windows, have such a quick expiration date in the NFL compared to what he's used to. And it's just a matter of timing and catching up to that. And so, it's something that will take time. It's something that will take reps. And so it's really good that he's getting this opportunity to get on the field in the preseason. It's good to see him use his legs out there. If it's not there, he's not forcing it. I think that was one of the areas where, he could improve upon is, sometimes he sees the window and just wants to fit it in there, force it in there, and be a little stubborn with it. But just because he knows that, and a lot of times at Division II level, you can get away with that. not quite the same thing in the NFL. And so the decision-making aspect of that's been a big thing for him. I think he's acquitted himself well. In terms of a, comp, I think the last few years, like a Ben DiNucci come out of James Madison, went to the Cowboys. He's been bouncing around. He's a guy that's pretty similar. Ian Book, who the Saints drafted out of Notre Dame. He's part of that backup situation in New Orleans. So, there are a few names that, day 3 picks that have turned out to have NFL careers. Tyson Bagent can do that. There's no question about it. Now, can he elevate even further and, push for a starting job down the line? That might be something we can talk about at a later time. But where we are right now, I think that he has done. Anybody that's watched Tyson at the Division II level, talked to him, I don't think anybody's surprised that he's put himself in this position right now.
It's interesting because we know he's got championship pedigree already built in because of his father. I think this is the most fascinating part of the story. His background as a arm wrestling champion for decades. How and the fact that Tyson, he's like, that's not me though. I don't want to do the arm wrestling thing. But it seems like he took a lot away from his dad's experience doing that.
Oh, no doubt. He grew up in a competitive family. Talking to his dad, first of all, if you've never talked to Travis, Tyson's dad, I put it on the list. He is one of the most entertaining. He's part competitor, part showman. He easily could have been in WWE. Like, he is this fascinating figure. I really enjoyed my time. I talked more with Travis than I did Tyson, just because there's so many things to talk to him about. He's really a fascinating guy. But yeah, he 28-time world champion. And an interesting part with that is 17 left-handed, 11 right-handed. So, and he is not shy to tell you that he is on the Mount Rushmore of all-time greats in the sport. He grew up around it. Travis's dad, Tyson's grandfather, had a arm wrestling bar growing up. So he grew up in that world. And Tyson, he grew up with his dad competing in these championships all over the world. Sometimes he would go travel to other countries for these championship tournaments. And there's one quote in the story how Travis said that Tyson knew that Christmas was going to be good or not based off of how he did that year. It was a very competitive household. So Tyson grew up with that competitive gene, and Travis knew that he wanted Tyson to be a quarterback early on. He actually made sure he coached his little league football team so he could put him at quarterback and kind of pushed him that way all along. And Tyson fell in love with the sport. Not so much arm wrestling. I think he called it whack when I talked to him. But he did fall in love with football, and that's really been his focus ever since he was little.
Dane, great stuff. Really appreciate your time this morning. Great story, and we'll continue to see how it unfolds here in Chicago.